There are many benefits to doing Tai Chi, and we understand that to get those benefits, you really have to apply the underlying principles. It's not just doing the movements, you have to actually understand and apply those underlying principles. And over the last month or so, we have looked at some of these underlying principles and how they relate to addressing an opponent, preparing you for a fight. And we've looked at things like being balanced in a fight. You have to be balanced. If you're off balance, your opponent has the advantage. And you become more balanced by understanding your columns, by knowing how to move from your Dianne, by understanding your substantial and insubstantial, your weight changes, by being rooted and grounded. We've talked about how rotation is an important part of the power that you can bring against your opponent. You rotate into that movement, you have much more power. And that it really is a relaxation thing as well, that rotation helps your body relax, which is also important in a fight. We've talked about your energy. Where is your energy going? Is it going into your opponent? How do you allow your body to relax, open up, have open, loose joints so that that energy can flow, so that it can come up all the way from your feet, through your body, and expressed out through your hands. We've talked how the breathing can support your efforts against your opponent, that your breathing needs to be long and deep and slow, that you're in control of that breath, that it's actually helping with that relaxation, and it's also helping with that energy flow. All of these things come into play when you're preparing for a fight. You work on these things as you prepare. But then comes the moment where you're actually in the fight, where you have an opponent in front of you. And you need to add one more thing to all these preparation things, and that is your mental focus. When you're in the fight, you have to stay in the game. Your brain has to be focused. You have to be anticipating your opponent's strategy. You have to react to what your opponent brings against you. You have to stay in the moment. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to do several forms. Some of them are going to be familiar, some of them not so familiar. And I want you to really anticipate or think about being focused. Keep yourself in the moment. Don't let your mind wander. So now, being in the moment and being focused alongside that preparation, as you do these forms, you need to be thinking about, am I as balanced as possible? Am I rooted and grounded? Am I using my breathing? Am I using my rotation? Where is my energy? Is it going against my opponent? All of these things have to be in your mind, in your focus point. So the first form that we're going to do, it'll represent a very familiar opponent. You know this opponent. You've worked with this opponent before. You've sparred. But you still have to think about being balanced. You can't at any point lapse your focus, because then that very familiar opponent can take advantage of you. So let's do the simplified 8 form first. Taking a nice deep breath in, breathing out, sinking down, and open. Preparation. Repulse the monkey. Think about how that rotation is going to help you against your opponent. Now you need to think about that weight shift, keeping your columns intact, and step out, brush, knee. Moving from the Dianne, keeping yourself stable. Brush, knee. Using that weight shift, part the wild horse's mane. Thinking about your breath, part the wild horse's mane. Wave hands like clouds. Keep your mind focused on your opponent. Stepping to the right. Letting your weight come to that left. Lift into pheasant stands right. Pheasant stands left. Kicking right. Kicking left. Taking a nice deep breath in and then breathing out as you ward off. Grasp the bird's tail. Roll back using that rotation. Rotate and press. Pushing chi. Bring your weight back to the left. Bring it over to the right, holding that ball of energy and ward off. Grasp the bird's tail. Roll back. Rotate and press. Pushing chi, bringing that weight up onto that left, and return the tiger to the mountain. And close. Then you have opponents that you're not quite familiar with, but you do know their style of movement. Taking a nice deep breath in, breathe it out, sinking down, and open. Feel yourself rooted and grounded. Preparation. Focus on your breathing. Preparation. One more preparation. It's not a pattern we normally work with, but maybe that's what your opponent gives you. Bring that weight over to the right. Step out, pushing chi. Notice if you're stable in your stance. Feeling that weight shift, bring it all the way up onto that left and come into pheasant stands. Then step out, pushing chi. Bringing all the weight up onto that right, come into pheasant stands. Wave hands like clouds, we're not going to step. Focus on how rotation helps you relax in the fight. Bringing your weight over to the right, holding that ball of energy, stepping backwards. Gather that ball of energy. Think about where your energy is going. Step backwards. Now step into brush knee. But then do pushing chi. Bringing that weight back. Holding that ball of energy on the left. Step out, brush knee. Pushing chi. Then, as often happens in a fight, we repeat what works. Brush knee. Moving from the Dianne, pushing chi. Remember, you have to think about those underlying principles. Brush knee, pushing chi. And remember I said you have to anticipate, you also have to react. Brush knee, bring it up into pheasant stance. Then brush knee, pheasant stance. Then a familiar pattern, wave hands like clouds, 2 steps. Keep your mind focused on your substantial and insubstantial, on your rotation. Let's go to the left again. Go to the right. Bringing that weight over to the left. Pheasant stance, stepping backwards. Pheasant stance, keep yourself rooted and grounded and balanced. Pheasant stance. And now pushing the mountains. Not a normal way to close a form. Not all fights follow a prescribed pattern. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, and breathing out. Now let's go right into our next form. It's an unfamiliar opponent. Preparation. Now bringing your weight over to the right, just lift your left knee. Think about balance. Bring the weight over to the left, lift your right knee. Keep yourself focused. Bringing the weight over to the right. Sometimes a fight starts nice and slow. Bring your weight over to the left, lifting that knee. Then gathering that energy, a familiar brush knee. We're going to go forward, brush knee. Think about that weight shift, moving from the Dianne. Thinking about where your energy is, using your rotation against that opponent. Keep your eyes on that opponent. Brush knee. Bringing that weight up onto the right, come into pheasant stance. Then left, pheasant stance. Then right, pheasant stance. And then a new wrinkle in your fight. Repulse the monkey. Sometimes it's worth going backwards, going away from your opponent. High pat on horse. Sometimes you reverse that direction and you go into your opponent. Think about your weight. Think about being rooted and grounded as you kick smash and box the ears, lowering that center of gravity, moving from the Dianne. Bring that weight back, then weight over to the right, kick smash, and box the ears. Bring that left leg back, bring your weight over to the left, and now step forward, deflect. Intercept and punch, pushing chi. Return the tiger to the mountain. And close. Then sometimes your opponent is very familiar to you, is right about at your same level, But they've been working on new things and you've been working on new things. So you really have to be careful as you approach this very familiar opponent, because you don't really know what's going to happen. Take a nice deep breath in.